Hey guys, Tbull here. Today we're going to be checking out Graf Zeppelin Tier 7 Premium German Aircraft Carrier. Alright, so what's going on here? There's the build, Geisler. Heavily focused on the concealment. There's my normal build. We might reference that a little bit here and there. There's the ship build secondaries up the wazoo. Why is that? In this game, if a secondary build is viable, I use it. I got so many ships that, it may not necessarily be the most competitive build, but it might be. Okay, and secondaries have gotten buffed about 5 or 6 times since since the Bismarck showed up just about 3 years ago. I think it was on their quote-unquote full release, which is what we're celebrating the anniversary of now, that the Germans came into the game. So it's probably right about 3 years ago. Everybody was like, yes, the Bismarck secondary builds. And what do we get? We get a pile of steaming turd. Secondary builds were weak and completely worthless when they came into the game. Buff. They've buffed some of the commander traits. They've introduced new commander builds to augment the secondaries. They've boosted the secondary performance itself. That secondary consumable that you can put on there. Sure, you got to trade some heals, but it's worth doing if we're going to lean all the way into a secondary build. All these things have been introduced, okay? So those of us that have been playing the game for a while appreciate it when a secondary build is viable. All right, so I'm looking at this thing, and on a normal build, quote unquote, I think 6.6 is the base range. At least that's what it is on my normal Parcels build. I can't imagine I'd have any secondary enhancements on that. 7.8 on this one. That's with everything. Pay to win up the wazoo. High level pay to win commanders, Haruna, and then Franz von Hipper, who's in the game, obviously. Nearly maxed. Okay, 7.8, 9.3 concealment on this leaning into the concealment build. Alright, so we have a situation where most of the destroyers can spot you and fire torpedoes at you without you ever seeing them. Now, you might spot them with the planes, yes, but if they're beyond 7.8 kilometers, maybe 8 max, or 7.9, I don't know what it would be, but it's right around there. Like I said, that's pretty close to max. Okay, well, you can still get those 10-kilometer torps, the 8-kilometer 9.2s, whatever they are. A lot of those torpedoes at Tier 7, Tier 8, even Tier 6 won't have any issues reaching this without the secondaries going off. So even if the planes are detecting that the destroyer's in the area, might not even be worth it. And in fact, I've played about 10 games on this thing, previewing it for you guys, and I don't think my secondaries on this heavily leaned into secondary build have fired once. Okay, so if you're going to buy the Graf Zeppelin and you want to set it up competitively, abandon the secondary build, because it's not going to get you much very often. Okay, you're going to get that lone Yudachi or something that goes 14 minutes around the edge of the map trying to torp you. Usually those guys are going to die anyways without a heavily spec secondary build, but it's just not worth it. Okay, so if they give this thing Bismarck 10.8 range or whatever it is, now we're talking. Okay, and I'm not a huge carrier guy, you guys know me. That's a carrier I could get behind. You come near this thing, I spot you with the planes, you get shredded. That's a fair trade, okay? Because what else is going on with this thing? Everything else about it is far worse than the Parcels. Truth in the Carriers Act, full disclosure here, I only track the plane stats. Okay, when I track most of my destroyer, cruiser, battleship stats pretty intently, and then carriers, I got this page that has the torpedo bombers and the HE/AP bomber stats on it. So I don't know, there might be some other stuff that lends weight to the Graf Zeppelin in terms of mobility or something, but I don't really care. All right, restoration time, huge. Now, those of you that saw me play this on the stream the other day noted that I was like, wow, these planes are not going to regenerate. And watch this game here. You get basically 2 full strikes per group, and then after that, it's 1s and 2s. You're relegated to spotting, or maybe you're better at managing your planes than I am. But regardless, plane management's huge. You probably got to really get in the habit of dropping half your ordnance upon taking off, just to control your own plane survival. I guess that's probably something I didn't do in this game. But even doing that, you're still going to have issues late in the game, where a lot of times I'll just kind of pull back. Okay, I got one plane here. I'm going to let the guys on the carrier regenerate for 3, 4, 5 minutes while I just spot. And hopefully my team's close enough to actually shoot. And being up there in the air, relying on your team to do anything in this game, frustrating. Okay, so secondaries, whatever. Restoration, disastrous. What else we got? Well, the Parcels, let's take a look at the torpedo bombers. Parcels got more HP, far more speed, 7 knots. Same unit size in the squad on this one. Same detection. Restoration, 65 to 80. And, okay, the torpedo damage, about 300 more per Graf Zeppelin hit. Still very low damage. And then, by the way, the Parcels torpedo speed, 59 compared to 45. Okay, and once again, that may be influenced a little bit by the builds. Maybe you can boost that up a little bit, but still, Parcels torpedo bomber performance better. Now, torpedo bombers and German carriers, trash. Let's take a look at the AP bombs. Now, the Graf Zeppelin does have a little bit more HP, about 130 more HP per plane. Speed, still about 7 knots slower, and once again, that Starscream or whatever I have, I believe it does enhance the speed a little bit, so that's probably altered slightly, but I still believe it's slower. And here's the kicker. Units on the Parsifal, 3 units of 9 planes each, 2 and 8 on the Graf Zeppelin. All right, so our main offensive ordnance is the AP bombs, and we're already, 50% reduction in effectiveness or whatever, 33%, whatever it is. Mathematicians, let us know in the comments. But either way, dramatic, right? And once again, restoration, 62 seconds compared to 80. All right, so we're not, and okay, sure, the bomb damage 400 more for a full damage hit on the Graf Zeppelin. Tiny, a fraction. So the plane performance itself vastly favors the Parsifal, in my opinion, and I think according to the numbers. The secondaries, which are a selling feature for the ship, again, now I've seen some Graf Zeppelins be really aggressive with their positioning late in the game and have the secondaries go off, and okay, fine. If you're really going to be Mr. Graf Zeppelin and you can get in that mindset of, okay, I'm going to be putting this carrier right into the thick things late in the game, risky play, no doubt. But if you're going against some low HP ships, maybe that's a kill shot. Fine. That option's there, but we're still talking about things that happen occasionally, whereas the Parsifal's performance is always going to be better, and you don't pay a bunch of money for it. So, that said, as is, I don't currently recommend the ship. Now, I don't usually give strong buy or sell recommendations. You guys have your own financial situations. I got mine. The value of a dollar differs greatly to each of us. And, maybe you like carriers more than I do, maybe not. So I usually just kind of lay out the facts as I see them and then try and give you guys the information I think that you need to buy it or not buy it. That said, this could be an Azuma situation where, they're like, damn, this ship sucks. What's going on here? Oh, let's give it the Bismarck secondaries. And this could be 6 months from now. It could never happen. It could be a year from now. It could be a month from now. I see no reason to buy the Graf Zeppelin. In fact, I'm looking up and down the tier 7. You got the Po Beta, the Implacable, the Parcel, Kaga, Shukaku, Saipan, Lexington. I'd put this at the bottom 1 or 2 currently. So I don't see any reason to spend any money on it personally. That said, if they do put a set of Bismarck secondaries on there or something, or give it the restoration time that basically all these other planes have, except for currently the British, then it would be more fun. Even the British torpedo bombers were at 69 seconds compared to 80. Curious side note about these carriers. I only check, the stats on these, whenever there's a change to, if they add a new tier 7 carrier, then I'll go double check everyone's stats, because if I'm going to compare them, I want to be accurate. They're always tinkering with this stuff. I'm not changing my carrier builds ever, but I'm always, okay, this restoration went down 4 seconds, this one went up 2, whatever else. They're always tinkering with this stuff. I don't know how much detail they gave this last one. I will note, basically all these carriers got buffed, as expected, except for the Saipan. When I was going through the numbers last night, getting ready for this video, I did note that a lot of those values became a less positive or less enticing. So I did make a note that the Saipan seems to have been nerfed, but it's kind of funny to me that they're always tinkering with these numbers, and then I don't notice the same kind of behind the scenes tinkering with the other ships, not nearly to this extent, and it's usually explicitly pointed out with those. So I still think they're kind of stealth balancing these, and I don't care. If it takes a million years for these planes to regenerate, I'm not going to play it anyways. So that's fine with me. But if we're going to say to our customers as wargaming, thinking, from their perspective, all right, why do we have an 80-second regeneration on here when the Shukaku's got a 53-second regeneration on a squad that's 50% bigger? Once again, 3 squads, 9 planes compared to those two squads and 8 planes. So the damage output, sure, I'm looking at the HP bomb max damage lower than the AP bomb max damage, but does that warrant, a 40% reduction or whatever it is in restoration time? I don't think so. Not to mention there's no fire chance on these AP bombs. So that's my thoughts on the Graf Zeppelin. For me, and here's my thoughts on something else. Now that I'm looking at the game here, will to rebuild. How long are these 3 dudes? I think they're down to 2 over here. I think they were fighting these guys for about 10 minutes. And once I realized that, the Lenin had to go down or else these guys are going to remain invincible, then I really started pinging the living piss out of the Lenin and then bombed him myself, trying to get rid of him. Will to rebuild. Why is this in the game? This is the stupidest perk I've ever seen. Invincible battleships. I've asked them when we're going to see invincible destroyer perks and invincible carrier or cruiser perks. I don't think I got a response. I'd have to double check. But let's do it, right? Either everyone's invincible or nobody's invincible. But take the stupid will to rebuild out of the game. All right, so that's the end of that rant. But yeah, that's my thoughts. Now I'm seeing a lot of Graf Zeppelins out there. If you're one of the owners, let us know. I do want to point out something else, though. Check out this circular aiming circle. And someone pointed this out on the stream when I was testing this carrier out once or twice on there on Monday. A lot easier to bomb from the side. And I've been testing this out quite a bit. Usually when we're dropping HE bombs, AP bombs horizontally, like we're fighting a ship broadside, that's usually a missing shot. That's a good way to line up torpedoes, yes. Bombs, HE bombs, AP bombs, you want to line them up with the ship. Either approach from the nose toward the rear or vice versa. That's the ideal way to do it. But with this aiming, you can actually hit them relatively easily from the side. And I think, if I recall, this Siegfried might be a good example right here. That's the biggest plus for this thing. The Graf Zeppelin, I think, is the ability to hit these AP bombs from the side, which is kind of cool. But again, is it worth what we're giving up for it? I don't know. So there's a good example right there. So versatile in that regard, but you still have the trash torpedoes bomber performance with the Germans, which is fine because the AP bombs are quite strong, no doubt about it. But like I say, Parcels kind of takes the cake amongst the tier 2 German carriers in general. So anyway, my point I was going to get to is anyone who's got the Graf Zeppelin, you let us know, am I full of it? Because maybe you guys that are professional flyboys, you might have a different opinion than I do. I play carriers sparingly just to kind of get a feel for the ships. And once in a while, they're kind of fun to play, but I prefer the surface ships. So if you got a different opinion, let me know. But, at the end of the day, I'm just going to have to give a kind of a sell rating or a hold off on this rating on the Graf Zeppelin. So we're going to try and get him with one more torp here, but I think the game clock's going to run out there as the score is about to hit 1,000 before we get any more strikes. So that's going to be our look at the Graf Zeppelin. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. Helps the channel quite a bit. Promotes the video to new viewers. And if you're new to the channel, you're one of those new viewers, please consider subscribing. There's always more World of Warships content coming for you all the time. If you got questions or comments, please leave them below. I do read them all, even if I can't respond to them all, and that'll do it. Peace.